Hi there. This just arrived in the mail the other day, and I thought this is a great time to give you an unboxing so that you can have a look as to what exactly arrives once you order from the Shapeways shop. So I'm going to go ahead and open this box up, and let's go and have a look at how Shapeways packages their products and what it's going to look like. Now, first of all, it's shipped by UPS and it arrives really quickly. You can track your order, and Shapeways will also give you a shipping date as to once they've sent it. The first thing that we can see on the box before we open it is that the entire box has been printed by Shapeways itself. You'll have a look inside as well. They do control a lot of their products as to how they are packaged and how they go out of the factory. Obviously, some parts could be quite brittle from certain shops, so they want to make sure that everything arrives in the best possible quality and in the best state. So once we open it, we get a couple of thank yous in different languages, a couple of ideas here to share it, a few questions that you can ask. Inside you'll see that you have quite a lot of this really rigid, hard bubble wrap that is really quite thick, very sturdy. It doesn't even pop when you squeeze it, and it's definitely going to keep things very well cushioned, much better than regular small bubble wrap. Then the next thing you'll see is you get a little sticker that has your entire order on it. Here we can see all the different products that have come in, so you can basically go and check that everything is there. But on your Shapeways on the website, once you do order it, you will get an entire printed statement there as well. So inside we get much more of this bubble wrap, and inside we start uncovering all the layers of all the three products. So I'm going to go and lay them out here, and then we're going to just have a look at them. I'm going to pull out. You'll see that between all of the different layers you will have more of this plastic just to cushion the models from each other, as well as cushioning them from the box itself. So let's just go and pull all this out, and I'm going to put the box on the side. And also I wanted to show you, just while speaking about the box, is that if you get a smaller shipment from Shapeways, it could come in a box like this, equally strong. The other thing that I do want to mention is that all their boxes are double thick cardboard. So I don't know if that is clearly visible to you, but you have really rigid cardboard, and there should be absolutely no worry with anything that you put into your order. So over here we have a couple of different parts, various things from the shop that I needed to test out, a couple of orders that I custom made for people that I wanted to have a version of myself. Here there are a couple of brackets that we're going to have a look at, and here there are two test blocks. And on the right we have a smaller and a simpler GoPro adapter. So we're going to pause the video here for a second. I'm going to open up all of this, lay it out, and we're just going to go through them one by one quite quickly to have a look what's in this order. So as I'm taking the last set of brackets out of the Ziploc bags, I wanted to also show you how these bags are made. Now, first of all, the Shapeways logo is on the bag itself, and you'll also notice that each of the bags is made out of a really strong, firm plastic, much stronger than your regular Ziplocs that you would generally get on a Bricklick order. The other thing you'll get is a little sticker with a tiny diagram or a picture of what your product looks like, and you'll get a reference code and all that. So all of this is very well monitored by Shapeways, and I think that they do an excellent job of actually organizing your order from the moment that you order it on their website to the point at which you get it at home. So if I just go through these products here one by one just quickly, because I'd like to eventually do a much more detailed video about each of the categories of the products that SevenStuds sells. So from the left, what you'll first see is a full set of racing drifting wheels. These are very small drifting wheels that are meant to fit, or at least be the same size as the 43.2mm tires. So these drifting wheels are solid plastic. You may know the Lego version is much bigger. That's a 56mm wheel, or a 68.8mm wheel. Generally these ones will have the 56mm size rims or wheels on the inside. So this drifting wheel is meant to do something quite similar to this. It's hard plastic. You slide it straight onto the axle, and it's meant to fit a much smaller scale car. So I think that's quite exciting. SevenStuds also has a medium-sized drifting wheel which is slightly bigger than that. It's 49, just over 49mm. So there are already a couple of options for solid plastic wheels there. So I'm going to put these four aside, and what I also wanted to show you is that if I take an axle without any modification to the actual axle hole, you're able to slide an axle in there and it firmly stays in place. There's very little chance that it's going to actually come off. The way that I generally like to make all of the axle holes is that things should be slightly tight in the beginning. What you may also see is that once you push out or once you use the axle hole for the first time, there may be a little bit of powder printing residue that pushes out. So you'll see on my finger here there's a little bit of black powder, and this is just from the sort of cleaning effect that happens once you do use the axle hole on the first time. Also remember that this plastic will eventually polish itself a little bit, so it may seem a little bit grainy in the beginning. This is just because of the nature of the printed product, but do give it some time just to wear in, and axle holes will start sliding much easier once it kind of becomes a bit polished. So the next thing here that we're going to look at are these wheel covers. These are made for a Pagani Huayra, and the one here is a much wider one. This is for a back wheel, so this would be placed into the larger Technic racing wheels, and they basically just slide in there, and you would typically use an axle just to attach them like so, and they would slide into the axle hole inside the wheel, and then your wheel would obviously get attached using your 3-pin connector. So there is a custom-made wheel cover. You'll notice as well what's quite beautiful about this is that they're completely flush with the tire itself. There's no protrusion whatsoever. If I take a flat object, you can see that there's absolutely no part of the wheel cover that sticks out like some of the original Lego parts. Before this does go on sale though, there are still some modifications I make. So very often you might look on my page and you'll see that there are many items there, but only a few of them are for sale. I will only put an item for sale once I'm 100% sure that all the dimensions of the connections are completely perfect. And this is why you'll very often have to wait a few weeks for certain products to go on sale. Then what we have here is for the same car model, we have a front wheel cover. These ones are done slightly differently. They obviously will fit over this, but they're not as deep, they're much shallower. So these ones will slide into a regular 56mm wheel, and they look like so. Same thing here, they're completely flush with the outside. There's very little that actually sticks out over the tire, if anything at all. So that's pretty good. These ones, I also do want to make the axle a little bit tighter because I do find that they slide out slightly too easily. So again, this will be adjusted by a couple of microns before it actually goes on sale. So if I put all the wheel covers to the side, we can now have a look at something that I'm quite excited about, and that is this full new set of pneumatic brackets. So what we have here is a bunch of pneumatic brackets that aren't currently available at all from Lego, and I do believe that one day they may be available, but it's obviously going to take a good couple of years or months before they do actually come onto the market. So here is my version. Basically, we all know the brand new pneumatic system came out, and there's very little of a way to actually connect them rigidly together. The current brackets, they do kind of do the job, but they're not really that satisfactory. So with the new brackets, you can basically take 2 cylinders and you can place them like so. You can then either connect them with an axle on the inside. So let's take a bunch of axles, and we can then cover that using the bracket, the other half, and once that slides together, you'll see you have a very beautiful, clean and rigid connection between the two. Now then you can also take a 3L or longer beam and create a sturdier connection there. You can then also have a much longer beam and connect several of these next to each other. Basically, it should function exactly like the normal Lego part that you have for your regular cylinders, but with the new cylinder design, a new bracket is required. So this on the side, we now have these guys. And they're also quite interesting because currently these smaller cylinders, as well as the longer version, there is no real way of connecting them very neatly either. So same thing here, you basically take these two. I'm going to use the slightly longer 3L axle, and I'm going to just put them on like so. Again, I must remind you that when you do push the axles through the first time, you will get a little bit of powder residue. So if this focuses correctly, you'll see on the tip of my finger a bit of powder that slides out. And that's perfectly normal with Shapeways' products. They basically use high pressure air to blow it out, but they're not going to go and brush it or take a thin wire and go and clean absolutely everything. So that's up to you just to go and adjust that. Generally, you'll see a bit of a powdery residue. So there we go. So this will be for the shorter cylinders, and I think that this is quite a cool little product. It's very, very compact, it's very, very rigid, and as well it allows you to do some things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do in such a simple manner. So the same way we can now go and connect these two cylinders up, and this is going to give you a very compact and very long extension once you have these out. So that's the effect that you get with that. Same thing here, very small cylinder, just go in cylinder bracket, just go and put a couple of beams across and that will be neatly connected. So here, next thing in front of us, we have two test blocks. Generally the test blocks I will do quite a lot of, and this is done in order to test slightly different incremental sizes of axle holes, stud holes and all that. So basically these are not for sale, it's just for me to go and test out, and as I mentioned, a product on SevenStuds will only be sold once I can confirm with at least 1 or 2 or 3 prints that the sizes are correct. I do otherwise have to mention though that there is a very tiny variation that happens with Shapeways. So sometimes you might get something that is a bit looser or a bit tighter, and there's nothing that we can do about that because of the printing technology isn't 100% accurate. You're always going to have a very, very tiny difference. The other thing that I do want to say is that certain products like this are made in order to be the same size as Lego products, and if I have a look, if this zooms in correctly, you'll see that the edges here are very, very thin, and this is done in order for them to be 100% the same size as real Lego products. And you'll see here that real Lego is actually very, very thin as well, but because this plastic is slightly less strong than hard, rigid Lego plastic, you will have to accept that there are some fragile areas, but I still think that the rigidity and the strength of Shapeways plastic is still good enough to be able to have it this thin. Currently this is 0.7 millimeters, which is the absolute minimum that Shapeways allows us to go. So I think because of the angle, the arc, we still get some very good strength there. The last product that we're going to have a look at here is the simplest version of the GoPro adapter that's available on the SevenStuds shop. So what you'll have to do once you get this adapter is you'll have to use one of the existing nuts, or you can go and buy yourself a similarly sized, I think it's the M5 nut from any hardware shop, and you can then go and slot it into the hex area there, and you can just take any existing GoPro screw bolt there and you can go and screw that in. So that's going to work pretty fine. You can use it with any of the GoPro housings. You can use it with the full waterproof one. I like to use this very lightweight one because obviously you want the lightest possible solution, especially when you're doing any indoor model. And once you screw that in, you'll see you have a very firm connection to your GoPro housing, and all you'll have to do then is connect it in the same way that you would connect absolutely any 3L beam. So I'm going to take this, it's an existingly pinned up 3L beam. I'm going to just slide it through here, and you'll see that already this thing has just come straight from Shapeways and it's holding very firmly. The size is exactly the same as a 3L beam, so absolutely no problem there with sizing. And then it's absolutely up to you as to how you want to go and connect it. If you want to create an extension, connect it in any way you want, you can go and do that. Can connect it in this way, and no matter what you do, you have a very simple, strong connection. I do, however, recommend that if you do want to use it on any outdoor models, or you do want to have something a little bit stronger, go and have a look at the 2-part GoPro adapters in the shop. It's called the Black Rock, and that is going to be featured in a separate video that I'm going to show you all about the GoPro adapters, where I go into it in much more detail. So for now, I'm just going to basically show that to you as is, and you'll see that no matter how you connect it, you have a very fine little product there. So that is about it from today. I've gone and done the unboxing for you, where I went and showed you all the different products that you can go and get. There are obviously many more, so browse around, have a look at what you think is most appropriate to you. I think that if you want to just try something out, something like the GoPro adapter is a fantastic way to start, because if you do believe in not building with anything that is completely not Lego, then something like a GoPro adapter is probably the best, simply because you can see it as an accessory for your GoPro. Obviously GoPro is not made by Lego, so you're attaching your GoPro to your Lego model, so it doesn't really make a difference whether you have a 3D printed adapter on your non-Lego casing and non-Lego camera. So once you go and attach this entire assembly, you can still have a completely pure model that you are shooting. especially because the GoPro adapter is not going to be seen in any of your videos, so you don't have to feel bad about that. Otherwise, if you do like to take things a little bit further and be a little bit more experimental, then I definitely go and I would recommend to go and test out a few wheel covers that you can then go and paint for yourself, a few brackets, and there are several other things that I will look at in other videos that are available to you. So I hope you enjoyed that unboxing, and I'll see you in the next video.